In today's video, we're going to be making Katong Laksa. I first experienced this dish when I was in Singapore at a restaurant called 328 Katong Laksa, which I highly recommend that you visit. One of my fondest memories of that trip is actually just sitting down on an afternoon after spending my day walking around seeing all the sights and having a bowl of this with a tiger beer. It's basically comfort food for Singapore. There are variations of this dish in Malaysia and other countries as well, but this version of it is uniquely Singaporean with the coconut milk and the shrimp and the vermicelli and the eggs and then just this particular spice mix that makes it so flavorful but also not overpowering in terms of the spiciness level. So follow along. I think you'll really enjoy making this one. To begin making our laksa, we're going to bring 4 cups of water to a boil. And to that, we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, as well as 2 teaspoons of light brown sugar. And then we're also going to add 12 large prawn or shrimp to make a simple shrimp broth. Now, I'm using tiger shrimp here. You can do it with the shells on and with the heads as well. But we're going to cook these just long enough so that they turn pink and we don't want to overcook them because they get stringy. The broth is back to a boil, and basically as soon as that happens, these are going to be done. So we're going to go ahead and fish these out and set these aside to use for later. Now we're going to make the rempa, or the spice paste that is the base of the signature flavor that really goes in to this laksa. So we're going to take 2 chopped up lemongrass stalks and put them into a small food processor. We've also got some softened dried Kashmiri chili peppers, and we're going to put those in, 5 of those. This is some chopped up fresh ginger. This is about 3 ounces of chopped up shallots. This is dried shrimp, which you can get from your local Asian grocery store. Don't be intimidated by it. I know some people may get a little weirded out by the little shrimp eyes and all that kind of stuff. It's going to get ground up into a paste. You're not going to see anything like this in there. But it's essential to get the right authentic flavor in this soup. And then lastly, we're going to put in 2 teaspoons of turmeric, 2 teaspoons of coriander, and 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper. And then we're just going to blend all of this up until we get a nice thick paste that's going to go into our soup. This is about the consistency you want your spice paste to be. I added a little bit of the soaking liquid from the dried shrimp to get a little bit more of that flavor in there, and also just to loosen it up so that the blades can really get in there and chop up any large pieces that were in here. Some of those herbs like lemongrass can be a little tough, so that may help you out here. Now we're going to move over to the stove and get started making our soup. I've heated up 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil and got a heavy bottom soup pot here. And I've added the spice mix, and I had it on medium high when I first added it, which will cause a nice little steam up here. And because that kind of just got some steam in the camera, I didn't show that part, but immediately turn the temperature down to low. And then we're going to let these spices sort of bloom in this oil for about 15 minutes on low heat. And that's really going to activate the flavors in these spices. You see that a lot in Indian and Mexican cuisine as well. You can tell it's ready when the spice has started to release its oil and sort of separate itself out into oil and the remnants. So at this point, we can go ahead and put the prawn stock we made earlier in. As well as 3/4 of a cup of coconut milk. And that's really going to bring out, I feel like coconut milk just really accentuates the flavors of these particular spices. All that mixed up. At this point, the broth is done. I'm going to let this continue to cook over medium heat for a few more minutes while I work on everything else. But you have a couple more elements you need to cook that don't really require me to demonstrate them for you. We're going to need a couple of hard-boiled eggs for the final assembly of our soup, as well as these are thick rice vermicelli noodles. And we're going to go ahead and cook these according to the package instructions, just in plain water, usually 3 to 4 minutes of boiling water, And then we're going to drain those and use those for the final assembly of our laksa. We're very close to assembly time for our soup. So back at the simmering broth, I've got these tofu puffs, also known as abura age, if you've seen my kitsune udon Japanese recipe. These are just going to go in this broth long enough to absorb a little liquid and to soften up so that we can eat them. It's time to do the final assembly of our Katong Laksa. So I've got a bowl, I've got some of the cooked rice vermicelli. On top of that, we're going to put some fresh mung bean sprouts. We're going to put in a bit of a hard-boiled egg. We're going to put in a couple of shrimp. I'm going to put in 3 shrimp just because I really like it. Now with the broth still piping hot, we're going to get one of those tofu puffs and a bunch of the broth, and we're just going to submerge all of that in this wonderful golden liquid. Look at that. And the last thing we're going to do is garnish with these. These are laksa leaves, also known as Vietnamese coriander. I grow these myself in my garden, but you can occasionally find them. I definitely sell the plants. I see the plants pretty regularly in my local garden centers, but we're just going to go ahead and add a little bit of that. That's our Katong Laksa. I've tasted the broth. It tastes exactly like back when I was in Singapore. If you assemble this, it is a fair amount of individual elements and little things that need to be cooked, but none of them are terribly difficult. As long as you can procure all of the ingredients, you can make this at home. You won't regret it. If you're in Singapore, go stop at 328 Katong Laksa. You will come back and thank me after you do this, because it's one of the most delicious meals I had when I was in Southeast Asia. So, all right, we're going to leave it there, guys. I'll see you guys at the next video.